Hi, Justin. Thanks so much for being a guest today on the Holistic Hub podcast. I'm really excited to dive into this platform that you've created, Moldmap, and just to discuss other things surrounding this awesome platform with you.
Thank you, Stephanie. I'm looking forward to talking about it.
Awesome. Well, I'd really love to dive into your story and really what led you to developing Moldmap, because I'm going to guess that there's probably a story behind it that led you to wanting to develop something that would allow people to find better quality, hotels or short-term stays just to due to air quality and other potential risks and hazards that can happen when we are getting exposed to different things in the environment.
Yeah, for sure. So my story really, I'm 36 years old now. I've had chronic illness pretty much my whole life. When I was a little kid, I had just suffered a lot with allergies and chronic sinus infections, ear infections, um, and and also chronic like stress and anxiety that I just kind of inherently had. Social anxiety especially, and so just a lot of, I guess, things that contributed to chronic illness throughout my early years, and that kind of it got worse in high school, like towards when I was 17, 18. I started to get chronic fatigue syndrome, uh, a lot worse, and so then we started looking into it some more and trying to figure out, doing some more like root cause
Yeah.
work, and seeing some functional doctors. Really didn't make much progress at all. And, so I kind of just lived with it, um, throughout college. I had some bad like flare ups. I also had more stress, and all this kind of just kept slowly building year after year, where I was still living, uh, for the most part, a normal life, but not having nearly the capabilities that I would want to have.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't until actually 2020, so like 5 years ago, that I got like very sick with all this, and kind of had just a um, like a health crisis basically, where I became bedbound. I couldn't drive. I couldn't, just my system, my body was just, you know, so it just shut down basically, and that's when, um, I just then spent like full time trying to figure out what was going on. And I'm sure many people with chronic illness, with mold illness, have experienced this type of thing. But yeah, so it took me like a year before I finally did a test that showed mycotoxins, and I had never learned or heard about mold illness or CIRS, but that was my first, like the first time I was aware of that, and so then that led to just researching like the Shoemaker protocol, and mold and CIRS, and uh, a lot of information that I had to take in and try to make sense of, but it all fit very closely to what, I had experienced for not just the past year, but really my whole life, like this, kind of low grade chronic illness that, then became worse. And so that allowed me at least to have like a path of like how I could recover, hopefully. And, but it was a really rocky path, to recovery, just because, I was in the process of trying to understand it. I was like, my first two Shoemaker doctors were not great, and like actually made me worse because I was sensitive to the treatments and the binders and the sinus treatments, the Marcons, and
Mhm.
so it was all the right treatments, but it just wasn't being applied in the right way, and I didn't understand, my own physiology sensitivity enough to be able to course correct on my own. So I just kept trying to push through it, and so Yeah, so I fired my first two doctors, and then my third doctor, uh, also a shoemaker doctor, one of the best, one of the most notable probably in the world, was was better, but still most of the information I had to learn from like his YouTube videos, and because you just as a patient you don't get that quality time with the doctors, and that's a real problem with I think a lot of functional medicine in the mold space, especially because there's such a demand for care that you get like 15, 20, 30 minutes with the doctor, but it's just very rushed, and it's not if you're a complex or a sensitive patient, it's very difficult. And so, but eventually I got on the right track, and I mostly through self like education and connecting with others, building my own CIRS community helped a great deal with that, like to get information. And so spent the next 2 years just healing my body, basically going through all the different layers, detoxification, minerals, nervous system, cellular repair, uh, environment, pretty much everything. And so now, 5 years later, I'm definitely like, I'm thankful for the journey, and I'm healthier than I've ever been, my whole life. And so, uh, but how, so three, so yeah, so like as I was recovering, I kept trying to think like, how can I make a difference? Like, how can I help other people, basically? And I have a background in communications and community building, working with like uh, social media, the web,
Mm-hmm.
technology, and so I started with the free Discord community for CIRS. It's called CIRS Map, CIRSmap.com if you're interested in joining the free community. And so that was just to help people connect and share resources. And we started talking about like, what are some other tools or resources that are needed for people dealing with this. And one of the ideas that frequently came up is like, it's so difficult to find like hotels or Airbnbs or like apartments if you're dealing with these issues. And even if you're not dealing with these issues, it's not like mold can affect anyone, and it's just a generally a major problem.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I had a uh, a really bad experience with a hotel that was supposed to be a nice hotel, like a newer hotel, and that was around when I was we were discussing this, and that just was assigned to me, like that prompted me to say we have to make like Moldmap, basically, and so then I started down that path. My company is Invivus Technologies, so it's a health tech company. I actually started that like a year before I landed on Moldmap, because I just knew that I wanted to work with technology and community and using data to help people
Yeah.
with chronic illness. And so we've been so Moldmap started a little over a year ago, and so it's now launched. It's live on moldmap.io, and we have we're now working to raise money to build a full scale app that has better data, better information for people, to build a community, make it as helpful for people as we can, but also use it as the catalyst for change that we need on a systemic level, just to change the whole landscape of how we view indoor health. And part of
Mm-hmm.
that is like, we need better ways of knowing if there's a problem. And so we're also working to on a real time, the world's first real time indoor mold sensor. And so that's going to be a little bit longer term, but that's a big priority for me, because we need the ability to more quickly know what's in the air we're breathing.
Definitely. Wow, Justin, amazing story, really, truly. And it's so great to see that you, throughout all this, that you feel like you are at like a healthier place now than you said, even growing up, even prior to your mold exposure. And really incredible. And I'm seeing community as kind of a theme for you, like, for what you said that you kind of like majored in. And then, then throughout your mold illness journey, trying to develop a community. And that was what was a big part of getting you better. And then ultimately, driving into more community-based supports for what it is you want to develop now with Moldmap and what you already have done. And that's pretty incredible. So I'd love to have you discuss more of the intricacies surrounding Moldmap. And like you kind of touched on like the goal of the platform is to help people probably pick better, locations they can stay in that has better air quality. But can you dive into a little bit more of the details around Moldmap?
Yeah, of course. It's so fundamentally, Moldmap is a crowdsourced platform. So it's similar to like Yelp and TripAdvisor, where people can leave reviews, and
Okay.
so that's kind of the base data that powers Moldmap, is experiences that people have, but it's tuned to the factors that are important for people who are sensitive, who have chronic illness, CIRS, MCAS, and so we ask very specific questions on those factors, and we also ask what you can leave your like your individual sensitivity level, like if you are very sensitive or not very sensitive, and so people can better gauge the reviews based on if those people's sensitivities line up with your own. And so that's the first step, and then now we are, because it takes a while to get like the organic reviews for places, to get the quantity that we need. It's going to take some time for us to grow and to reach more people. And so we're also working on uh, an AI tool that can pull information from different parts online, and kind of create, um, predict whether a place is likely to be safe or not for our users. So, factors like the age of the building, uh, do the windows open, is there carpeting, are pets
Mhm.
allowed, is it fragrance free, and also, like using reviews from like existing reviews on Google, on TripAdvisor. For sure, with Google, that we can read the Google reviews.
Yeah.
We're not sure yet about the other platforms if we can integrate that, but there's a lot of existing information online, and then also just pulling like places that are intentional about air quality, like especially short-term rentals. Like there are a lot of mold-friendly, CIRS-friendly short-term rentals on the market now, because the owners, many times they had CIRS themselves, or chronic illness, or MCAS, with mold or fragrances, and so they turned their space into a safe environment, and then they can then offer that to others. And so we're seeing a lot more of that now, and I think that's awesome. It's really great that
Yeah.
we have more of those spaces available, but we just, for the most part, people are not aware of everything that is available. So we're trying to get as many of those on our platform as we can, and then also help those property owners get more exposure to their listings from
Yeah.
from our user base, who is like their perfect type of guest. Yeah, and so we have a roadmap to growing Moldmap, developing a mobile app that'll make it easier to use Moldmap, especially when you're traveling. And and then we also want to get the businesses involved. And so so on our roadmap is like the Moldmap Safe certification program. And so that will it'll start as like at the minimum it'll be like a comprehensive survey that the location or business or homeowner fills out, and then that just shows like they meet these criteria that we deem, like the minimum criteria
Yeah.
to say like mold map safe certified. And then we can list those places and kind of highlight them on our platform. And then in tandem with that is like we want to not just highlight like we don't want to just show places that are good or bad, but we want to help turn the bad, like the sick buildings, into healthy buildings. So like mold map needs to help do that as efficiently as possible. And so if there are businesses that get flagged on mold map, we want to make it as easy as possible for them to fix that. So that could be connecting them with the right inspectors, remediators, products, tests, and then like information and guides for long-term maintenance. And then kind of guide them to where they would be like a mold map safe certified location. And we've even, like, I've met with a local university here in Marquette about the potential for like a collaboration for a mold map safe university for the dorms, because the dorms are a big problem across the country for mold for students. And so yeah, that's something that we could scale up a great deal over time. And so yeah, I'm hopeful that we'll be able to make a big difference there. And with the power of community and data, when you combine those two things, like there's just so much that we can do. Like it's so empowering for people who are suffering from this, and it'll be helpful for everyone really, because these toxins are affecting everybody, even if it doesn't make you immediately sick.
That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. I love everything that you're saying. And this is so needed in today's world, especially just with the prevalence of these water damaged buildings. And like you are saying, that it is affecting everybody, even if in the moment you're not feeling sick, it's still these biotoxins are really, they cause a lot of issues with health and contribute to toxic load and just create downstream effects down the road. So love that you're creating this. It's amazing. And I kind of wanted to kind of go back to, so to make sure I'm understanding this. So what is allowing Moldmap to show if it's Moldmap certified is, and I know that certification is, coming a little bit later, but to basically be on the site to show that the air quality is pretty good. This is based off of reviews, right? Are there any instances where you're talking to the owners, where you're conversing with people also to identify like maybe steps that they are taking to make sure that it is, safe for somebody like with CIRS or mass activation syndrome to be able to go stay, and not even including just like the short-term rentals like hotels and things like that. And then the other thing I want to ask kind of on top of that too is that you mentioned fragrance free. So we're also referring to not just mold and toxins in that sense, but also like VOCs and things like that, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. And so in our review form for Moldmap, we do ask about fragrances, about VOCs, because those are, as very common triggers. And also like the age of the building comes into play there too, because from what I've learned, like 3 years, like between say 3 and 10 years old is kind of like a sweet spot for building age. And if it's newer than 3 years, then like the VOCs and the off gassing start to become a factor and affect people. And so Yeah, so one of the things that we want to get like large scale data on, likely through our AI data collection, is like the age of buildings when they were built, and renovated, if they were renovated, because that's a really good proxy for that. In terms of the Moldmap safe certification, there's yeah, so we haven't decided like how in depth that needs to be
Hmm.
to have the reliability level that we want, because we could go as far as saying they must have like an ERMI test done,
Right.
a actinomycetes test, an endotoxins test done, basically proving, scientifically, like that, at least when the test was done, that it met our minimum standards, and basically like that would satisfy a like a CIRS doctor's,
Yeah.
what they would say from a human health standpoint. And so seeing like how feasible is that, like, do we need does an indoor environmental professional have to come, and like that,
Yeah.
do we have to work with, like a network of professionals to to inspect and to validate whether the building can be approved, or is it sufficient that the that we verify by talking to the business that
Hmm.
they're following these steps, and that then we just use we kind of use user reviews to help validate whether there are issues. I think it'll come down to like what is the most that we can, what's the most stringent that we can be, that's still practical and allows us to, because there's going to be a balance there in terms of what's the most helpful, but still that we can achieve at a large scale over
Hmm.
time.
Definitely.
And cost comes into that too. But we definitely don't want to cut corners in a way that then, um, gives false information, or is, just not helpful for people that are looking for who need a safe space. And I should add that I don't like we will never be able to guarantee
Yeah.
the state of air quality for any building. So we're doing our best to share information, and to help the business also share information about what they're doing. And so really the key is just transparency, and getting as much information as we can, and then we can at least give people a much better idea of what is safe and not safe than they would otherwise have.
Yeah. Awesome. And so I had actually gone on Moldmap to use it because I was curious, like what locations maybe around me had like good reviews, right? Or like that was considered like pretty safe air quality. And in LA, it was actually a hotel so I was looking at hotels, and it was a hotel that it was like the same hotel but in different locations. And I guess I might as well give them a shout out because I've never stayed there before, but I mean clearly they have good air quality. So it's called One Hotel. And I was like, oh, well, so, and it was, it was like saying that this location and this location were both like good. And so I was like, then it's interesting, like that they must then probably take some measures to support in creating air quality. I mean, I would at least assume that if like both of their locations, or maybe it was three locations I even saw, but it was kind of cool to see that actually, just to kind of use it for my own area.
Mhm.
But that kind of leads me to asking my next question is, so we kind of touched on this a little bit, but just to kind of clarify, this is for short term. This will be for like short term locations. It's like Airbnb, short term rentals, Airbnbs, and hotels are kind of the big three there that will be getting reviewed.
Yeah, those are definitely the most the most popular types of locations that people are looking for, that
Yeah.
people are staying. Um, but you can review any type of location, really. Like we have like categories for every type of location, really.
Okay.
So I think I think eventually, like we want to have data on literally every type of building, like in your
That
city,
is
So
awesome.
and I think the hardware integration will be key there, where like if you're walking around with our sensor, you can just say like, "Oh, I'm at the library. I'll upload this to Moldmap. I'm at the in the subway station, upload this to Moldmap." And when you scale that up and you have like thousands of people doing that throughout a city, tens of thousands of people,
Hmm.
even, that's when we will get the density of data that I think ultimately we need, because everybody, like we should know what we're breathing in. Like we need to know like what is. I think it's our right to be able to know like what is going into our lungs, into our bodies, and the technology will be there, and so we're trying to provide the platform and the network just to hold that information to
Yeah.
make it as usable as possible. But yes, so hotels, short-term rentals, and then apartments are further down, but that's it's still but only because it's not as frequent
Yeah.
of
Hmm.
something that people are looking
Right.
for. But I think housing is a big opportunity, and also like real estate with houses and condos, like this, like if somebody's selling a house and they can say it's mold map certified, I think that will eventually be a really big selling factor.
Definitely.
And so we want, and there's holistic realtors now, like I've talked to a number of them, realtors intentional about where they're focused on healthy spaces. And so we want all realtors to be,
That's amazing.
knowledgeable and focused on that. So, yeah.
Yes. That this is really exciting. Really, really exciting to think of the future of this as, because it's so hard. It's one of the biggest questions that I get asked all the time is, what do I look for when I'm looking for a place to stay in? What am I, how do I know? Like, or if I'm looking to buy, like, there's so many questions because there's just not a lot of information out there or support necessary from maybe the realtors or from maybe like even those mold inspectors or people that are going in to assess the place. And so
Mhm.
this kind of a platform is absolutely huge. And so it sounds like it's not just US based, then it would probably be like a lot of it is going to obviously start here, but then is the goal is to create it more, or do you already have reviews and places that you've that's on Moldmap that is like outside of the US?
Yeah, so we have international reviews, not as many as the US, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's global now. Uh, and most of the reviews currently on Moldmap are we launched with that data with those reviews.
Okay.
It was they were acquired in partnership with the Mold Free Travel Group on Facebook,
Okay.
and I think there was about 1,300 reviews that they were able to provide us with, and so that was a great starting point. But yeah, I want to say maybe 25, like a quarter of the reviews are international.
That's cool. That's very cool. Awesome. So then I kind of want to shift gears just a little bit into talking about, let's say someone's right now, they're traveling and they look on Mold Map right now, but they don't find anything, or they're looking into the Facebook group, but maybe they don't find anything like that someone's reviewed yet or something like that, that might be considered safe for them. So what are some tips that like you've had like through your journey maybe, and like that maybe talking to a lot of different people like through traveling to maybe help prevent or minimize exposure, things to look out for like when they're traveling, like maybe is it like bringing air purifiers or talking to the owners of the hotel to make sure their rooms are clean? Like what are some tips that you can offer to people right now that might be able to use like when they're traveling?
Yeah, for sure. So we actually created a free guide on Moldmap for traveling
Yes.
called the Ultimate Mold Free Travel Guide. And so, yeah, there's a lot that you can do. So before booking, some of the tips are like, for one, choose newer hotels. So it doesn't have to be brand new. And for people who are sensitive to VOCs and that sort of thing, maybe not a brand new. I personally like the newer the better for me, but I'm not super sensitive to like VOCs unless it's very strong.
Mm.
So generally, newer is better. Within the last 5 years, high rise chain hotels generally are best. Avoid ground level and pool and like rooms that are by the pool. Uh, Call ahead of time and ask about like, has there any ever been any water damage here on this property? Is there like do you spray fragrance into the air? What's that like? Is there pesticides that are sprayed outside? What are the cleaning products used? Unfortunately, with most, if not all of the chain hotels now, they definitely the big ones, like they pump fragrances into the general areas like the lobby and the hallway, like they have a signature scent. And
It's
that's
terrible.
unfortunately becoming a very commonplace thing, as
Wow.
well as stores like department stores are doing that now.
No.
They just have that signature scent, and it
Yeah.
goes all through the HVAC.
Oh God, I
And
actually didn't know that. That's just terrible.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah, and so that's it. That's really hard because it's like you can't just like if like they can't just uh turn that off or like stop.
Right.
If you're staying at that hotel, like you have kind of no way to avoid that. And then yeah, packing a like a portable air purifier is really I think it's a good idea. I like Air Oasis and IntelliPure.
Okay.
They're still even the smallest ones, might be too big if you're like flying, but for sure if you're driving, it's usually feasible to bring a like the smallest size for either of those brands. And I like those brands because I mean those aren't the only brands you could use, but just that you want to use one that's small enough to capture ultrafine particles, but then also can help kind of neutralize smells.
Yes.
Bringing your own pillowcase, sheets, blanket, emergency supplements, binders. Like whatever binders you use, maybe
Mhm.
glutathione, N95 mask, or even like I know some like super sensitive MCAS people will use like a respirator mask because like an N95 won't do a whole
Yeah.
lot for the smells. And then something like saline spray or like
Yeah.
sinus rinse can be really helpful. If the hotel is really dry or if it's got musty, moldy, to help, just get it out of your system a little bit better.
Hmm. Oh,
And when you get there, do a smell check, inspect the HVAC fence. I mean, that's often one of the worst
yeah.
aspects of the hotels is like the air conditioner, the heat,
Hmm.
because it's just neglected. It's not maintained. So like yeah, run the AC and see if musty air comes out, and then just don't be afraid to ask for a different room to try out several different rooms because sometimes one room might be totally different than another room.
You're right.
I've definitely found that.
Mm.
Um,
These are
yeah,
awesome.
that's
Yeah, those are great tips, and a lot of those are ones that I've recommended for a lot of my clients as well. Or if people are asking me on Instagram or social media, I love the travel air purifier. That's like my thing. I bring it with me. Bring it with me everywhere. But I have another question. Because on your site, you guys, or it was on your social handle, you talked about what a pure room is like in a hotel. And I'd love for you to kind of elaborate on what that might mean and what people can like maybe like request about that, like when they're looking to book a stay somewhere.
Yeah, so Pure Rooms is actually a brand name for a it's a company that helps, I think I'm putting this right, that helps chain hotels provide a cleaner environment, a safer environment for
Mm-hmm.
guests. And so like if you go to like a, it's more in like the big cities, but like a Hilton or certain Hiltons or Marriotts, for example, like they'll have a certain number of rooms that are Pure Rooms. I've never stayed in one myself, but basically they go through a process of like so they use like a certain type of air purifier. They before the guest stays, like they'll regularly I think use like ozone in the room to kind of neutralize
Okay.
everything. And then they use, I think, certain cleaning products.
Yeah.
uh, I've actually heard mixed reviews from people who have stayed in the Pure Rooms,
Okay.
where it's not, it's definitely not at the level that of what we would consider, like safe for sensitive people,
Okay.
or from a human health standpoint. And so I think that it's a really great start and initiative like that. These companies are recognizing the need
Yeah.
for more pure, clean environments, but we need to better align the actual human health
Yeah.
component with the results of the initiatives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and sometimes it kind of just goes back to just the tips that you gave were amazing tips, and there's so much that we can just do ourselves to kind of just if we're willing to like ask the questions, inspect the room, bring some of those supports that we need, we can actually really do a lot for ourselves, maybe even more than some of those pure rooms or whatever it is that they might be using. So yeah, no, great tips, and again too, yeah, it kind of comes down to again like how amazing this platform is that that you have created but continue to build on, because something I saw you talk about a little bit was the Moldmap safe hotel report. Now is that something that you kind of ran that is like still in the works where like people can go on the site and type in some information and then download a report, or was that just something you offered at one time? But I'd like for you to kind of elaborate on that too.
Yeah. So yeah, the Moldmap Safe Hotel reports. We had done a limited run of that, and that's kind of was testing the AI capabilities to find and approximate the likelihood of hotels to be safe for people with sensitivities. And so we did about a dozen reports, and we put it on pause because it's not it basically just took like a really long time to generate them, and like a lot of just manual work that had to be done. And so it did a really good job, for what I could see, in like giving the best approximation given the information. But we can make it a lot better, and actually I think we can make it more affordable to where instead of people having to purchase individual reports, it's maybe they just pay like a low monthly fee, or like like $10, and they can access all of the data on Moldmap and use like the AI tool. So still trying to figure out like how
Yeah.
we can best make that work. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the biggest pain point is, people like I'm traveling to this city. I don't know where to stay. Like help me figure out
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
where should I at least try first, and like
Yeah.
have like a short list. So yeah, I think we'll probably we will have an AI tool that helps because it, like I said earlier, it'll take a while to get the our native user reviews for
Yeah.
places. That'll always be like our best data point, but it's just to get that information at a large scale, uh, it'll take some time. But there's a lot we
Hmm.
can do in the meantime.
So many exciting things for the future of Moldmap and what you guys are working on building there. I love it. Is there, you already kind of touched on a lot of the things that you are looking to have incorporate and build within this platform. Was there anything else that maybe we didn't go over or that we didn't touch on that is also something you're looking to integrate into the platform?
Um, well, we want to have like we want to incorporate community for sure. So like allow
Hmm.
people to connect within the app, to be able to discuss places. I think that's one of the best, like the most helpful things that you can do is just talking to people like for their firsthand experiences, and just helping people connect. I think even like so we'll have a community aspect, functionality on the app, and then also maybe making it easier for people who have short-term rentals or housing for rent or for sale, like
Yeah.
the people selling that or offering that to be able to better connect with people who are looking for
Yeah.
that. I think that can be made a lot more efficient. We've even thrown around the idea of like, eventually, I mean, I don't know if this would fit in the Moldmap app specifically, but like a dating and like connection, like friends and dating, because
Yeah.
that can be a big compatibility
Right?
factor if you're sensitive or travel.
Absolutely.
So that's been suggested by a lot of people actually is,
That's
but for
awesome.
for now we're focusing on the environment. But I think just however we can help people become connected, and I think that's the most powerful benefit of the internet is improving human connection. Um,
Definitely.
yeah, and
Justin, thank
uh
you. Yeah, that was great. No, I just I want to kind of touch on that again. I love how that reoccurring theme for you is the community piece because it takes a village to, get things in the works and get people better and, be able to just share information. And, very rarely can we go these things alone. And I think that, building this and making it so that it is that community based driven platform is what separates this from other types of platforms or things that people might be using to try to find spaces that are safe for them to heal or safe for them to go to. So I definitely want to say that this is really exciting and excited to see kind of how it evolves over the next months and years. I mean, really cool the plans that you guys have for it. So really excited to hear about all of it as the time comes.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'd love for you to, leave people with like where they can find you, where they can find info with Moldmap and any other resources or tools that you'd like to share with the audience.
Yeah, so Moldmap, you can visit Moldmap and you can join for free at moldmap.io. We have a pretty big Facebook group. If you just search Moldmap community on Facebook,
Awesome.
please feel free to join our group there. That's probably the best way to get additional information around Moldmap, around asking other members about
Yeah.
locations, and then Instagram, just search Moldmap. We are on
Nice.
there as well, and you can reach out to me on any of those platforms. You can also email me, Justin at invivus.io, Invivus. Yeah, we are. So right now we're kind of just working to like I said, get more resources, raise some money to be able to fully implement Moldmap into our application, to be able to get more data, to be able to spread more awareness of the platform.
Awesome.
So that's going well so far. And oh yeah, and our email list. You can join our email list on the website as well for
Awesome.
updates.
Very cool. Well, thanks, Justin. Thanks for being a guest, sharing this incredible platform with everybody and myself. This was so much fun to learn about. And I know everyone's going to love this episode to be able to have a safe space to join with the Facebook group and the community, and then just be able to see the evolution of this platform and be able to use it in the future. Well, now currently, but also in the future to support for other things that they might be looking to stay or buy or rent. So really fabulous information. And thanks again for being a guest.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.